Hey, this is DJ Nick Nightingale reporting on a trip I took earlier this year to Mexico, where originally I booked a stay on the Yucatan Peninsula in the well-known tourist havens of Mérida and Cancun. But before I got there, I decided I would stop in the lesser-known city of Durango in the state of Durango, Mexico, which not a lot of people are just gonna have offhand knowledge of this place. It's a little off the beaten path, but the reason I decided to go there was, one, it actually has some interesting Hollywood history where a lot of American Western films were filmed here, particularly The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly with Clint Eastwood. It's a movie I like a lot, so I wanted to see if I could see their original filming location. On top of that, there was a solar eclipse happening at the time, April 2024, and if you looked it up, it just so happened that Durango was one of the perfect vantage points to get like the best angle to see the full eclipse. Whatever, it all worked out. So I said, okay, cool. So I decided I'm gonna add that to my itinerary, and I pulled up, and this is where things sort of went south a little bit because it had nothing to do with the food or anything related to that. I just came down with the flu immediately. I could feel it actually like while I was in the plane. And so unfortunately, by the time I landed, I really wasn't feeling good, but I said, you know what, let me get out day one, see what I can see. I'll take care of myself, drink a lot of water, drink some tea, but it really didn't work out like that. By the end of the day, I was completely wrecked and could barely walk, and I ended up having to cancel the second leg of my trip. So I didn't see very much. I was only active for one day, but what I did see, I am sharing with you right here. We're in the city center, and we're approaching the really main architectural feature of Durango, which is the Cathedral of Durango. We just call it that because officially the name is crazy. It's like Cathedral Basilica Menor de la Immaculada Concepción de la Arquidiócesis Metropolitana. Like, I don't know if I'm saying it right. I sound Italian, not Mexican. And moving on, it's a really nice piece of architecture. It was built by the Spanish back when they colonized this area in the 1600s. So I think this was built in the 1700s and then finished completely in the 1800s. So it was handed off from the Spanish to the Mexicans, and the Mexicans continued to build it out, take care of it, restore it, and make it look as awesome as it does today. You can go inside, and it's even better on the inside than it is on the outside. I also visited the city's largest museum, which was great because it tells the whole story of the history of Durango, so you can get a sense of how this place came to be and why it's important and what shaped the culture and all that good stuff. That's how I knew that it was colonized by the Spanish so many centuries ago. In the 1600s, Spanish came through, and I think the reason they were interested in it was because of minerals. They wanted to set up mines, and they wanted to dig out all these valuable minerals and take it back to Spain and sell it around the world and get rich. So they set up a whole bunch of mines here. They had military guys come and kind of force the locals to go along with it. You know how colonization goes. But in a tale as old as time, eventually Mexico becomes independent and sets up their own government, and becomes the country we know them as today. This happened a long time ago. I believe in the early 1800s was when Mexico became independent. So yeah, we mentioned that cathedral was owned by the Spanish and then handed off to the new Mexican government, who preserved it. That's the case with a lot of the really interesting, nice historical buildings here in Durango. So now this is me walking. So that cathedral was near the city center, same with the museum, not quite in it. This is me walking to the city center. This little park area, which is pretty nice to walk around, is in the actual center of Durango, sort of like the main plaza. The fountain wasn't working, but there wasn't a lot of trash. There weren't any strange characters lurking about. It was honestly just old people and families, so that's the kind of vibe I like to see when I'm out in the park. While I was there, I noticed another really impressive looking church. This one didn't have its own Wikipedia page like the cathedral did, so I didn't really know much about it or learn much about it. So I just kind of walked by, popped my head in the church to check out the architecture. Anyways, from there, in the city center is this 5-star hotel called Hotel Gobernador. That's where I wanted to stay, but it's the most popular hotel in this whole city and it was completely booked up, so no, I didn't get to stay here, but it didn't stop me from walking into the lobby just to try to experience the ambiance and eating in their restaurant to see what the food was like. Now, on the way out is where things took yet another unexpected turn. Very interesting. On one hand, I had to drive from one Mexico City airport to the other. I drove clear across the northern part of Mexico City, which is a distance kind of like, if you're from Southern California, it's like driving from LAX to John Wayne Airport, okay? And I gotta say, having been to Manila, Philippines, I was getting a very similar vibe, but I'll just leave it at that. Now, the real funny thing, while I was in the airport waiting for my flight, I was looking at my phone, reading things related to the eclipse in Durango, and I came across this news clip where this lady is clashing with the locals over a spot she supposedly reserved to view the eclipse, but the spot is in a public park, and there's this debate over where the tourists have the right to kick the locals out of a public park. But the real thing, crazy thing is, I saw this lady while I was in the airport in Durango on my way out. I saw this lady. I was watching her on the news on my phone, and I look up and there she is. And she was loud and sounded just like she does in this clip right here. It was amazing. Yeah, she did look just like that, and you know, I think unfortunately it's people like that who give Americans a bad name abroad. I'm not here trying to change that stereotype. I try to be a good tourist. The real bummer is I was so sick, I never even ended up seeing the eclipse, let alone catching my flight to the Yucatan Peninsula and staying in the nice hotels over there. No. You know, I was only there for about 48 hours, so I don't have much to say beyond what was said in this video. I'll have to come back in the future.